I'm Amir Barsoum. I'm the CEO managing partner of InVitro Capital, which is a venture builder slash venture studio with a venture fund behind it. And we basically build and fund companies from idea to exit. I'm quite optimistic about AI, which I think, and I think most of the people in the world now think, it's a level of innovation that is almost as equal to electricity. And I think it's going to change every single thing around us. And I see that from an optimistic lens, not from a pessimistic lens. And we can talk about that.
Future Optimist.
Is there anything that you're pessimistic about, or are you purely optimistic? Is there anything that you're concerned about?
It's a very, very wild innovation, and it's changing. It's deep and it's wide. It's impacting every industry at the same time, and it's impacting each one of them very deeply. So I guess that is the reason of optimism. But at the same time, there's some risks that we need to mitigate. Job security and how we're going to manage that, the pace of change and how we as humans going to adapt to that. So there's some pessimism, I would say.
Okay, got it. And you've been on both sides of the table. You're an investor now, but you've also built companies. What was the biggest company that you built prior to becoming an investor?
So today I'm an investor and a builder, but I think I've built Vezeeta was the biggest one that I've done as a pure entrepreneur and a pure builder. That is that's a company that I've built in the Middle East that spanned across 6 countries, served around 40 million patients. But when I became an investor slash a builder, because again, I'm running a venture builder, I think also the portfolio of companies that we've built now, actually, if you consolidate them together, they're actually as big as the size of Vezeeta in less than 20% of the time. So that was, I think it's the fruit of a long journey that is yielding greater results at this stage.
That's amazing. So some of the revenue numbers that have been thrown around, like, raised over $70 million. Is any of that accurate? Any of the stuff that I would find? Or maybe you can give a ballpark about the scale of Vezeeta or InVitro without giving anything too much away.
We raised $70 million. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the size of the fund for InVitro?
It's accurate.
It's 40 million?
So in Vezeeta, we raised $70 million over the course of 5 rounds. And the last one was kind of an exit to some of the shareholders and partial exit of myself and so on. So yeah, it's accurate.
Very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I noticed that
the $70 million are all primary. That doesn't include anything as related to the secondary.
That's an incredible accomplishment. And so now that you're on the other side, on the venture side, I think you have 4 portcos at the moment. What are you looking for when you decide a company to invest in? And why did you decide to become an investor?
So again, we're not a typical venture capital investor. We are builders and investors. We have a very interesting way of how we look at these companies. So we look at opportunities or ideas that are in tech-starved industries. We don't like industries where there's so many people are trying to go after it. We like opportunities that has a significant human capital requirement. And usually when this happens, there's a huge human capital scarcity. Think about technicians in home repair industries. Yeah. Think about nursing in healthcare. So that's also another piece we'll love to look into it. I think these are the two biggest reasons of the companies that we look into.
That's nice. So do you see, obviously you're sort of at the intersection of healthcare and AI, which are 2 of the fields that I'm very fascinated with. Are those, do you think, is that the biggest sector in your opinion that has this human capital shortage? Or are there others that you've also got your eye on?
There are definitely so many other sectors. We love home repair and construction tech. We think it's a very, very hot space. We love to get into. There are many service-related industries in the B2B space. I think there's a lot of technology going to happen in the sales AI aspects and the marketing AI aspect. There are some happening in the market, but we think there's a long way to go. They require a lot of human capital, and there's a lot of scarcity in the talents and the skills. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. We love dev tech. And we're seeing huge innovation in that space. Just
No kidding.
3 months ago, the production of my engineers, take 90 days ago, the production of my engineers versus today, I would say at least 35% increase in the lines of codes and the stories that have been shipped. I think there's so many industries that we're seeing this is happening.
Yeah, no kidding. We're seeing that too. So this is a time where a lot of individuals, both who are creating companies or trying to find a business, they're trying to find an angle like what you're looking for. They're trying to find something that's not oversaturated. They're trying to find something they can go into. What are some tips that you have for identifying these unmet needs so that people aren't going into hyper-competitive industries or aren't doing something where there's not an unmet need?
The easiest and the most practical way of looking at this is really finding something that you personally as an entrepreneur are facing the problem with. If you as an entrepreneur, you've researched the resources and the available opportunities to fix your problem, and you can't find one that fixes it to you, you try different solutions and you can't find a real solution for that, that's an opportunity and that's an unmet need. And then go after it. I think that is the easiest way of how to do it. The second one is make sure after you find this unmet need is really finding 4 or 5 other people who would actually tell you, yes, that's an unmet need. I always make this joke, and as if you're gonna ship a pretty ugly product to these 5 customers, are they willing to Venmo you $50 for it? If they are, that's actually an unmet need, and that's something you would pursue. So yeah, that's the way we would look at it. So you find it yourself, you have the pain yourself, find other 5 people who are going to have the same pain and kind of ask yourself, are they willing to Venmo you the $50? Then this is something that's willing to build.
Yeah. Is that how you
It's worth building.
got started in your own entrepreneurial journey? And one of the reasons that I was very interested in talking with you is because obviously here in the United States, here in California, it's Silicon Valley culture. People in Europe always talk about Silicon Valley culture, these hotspots of tech. You built a tremendous company over in the Middle East in a very different region. How did you get started and find these opportunities that may not even be here in the United States, but that still represent a very large unmet need?
I think it's exactly the same. Like you identify a clear market pain. And by the way, we didn't identify that from the very beginning. We actually started by something that didn't work. We built a software for the small clinics and it didn't work. And then we converted this from being a B2P business to providers or healthcare providers, and we converted that into the B2C side or business to patients or business to the consumers. And that's when it became a very different play, and we start to see the hockey stick. Actually, the one thing that definitely is the difference is the cultural difference and how easy to convince somebody to try something new. And I would say the United States is very unique in that it's much easier to find early adopters than in other markets. But as long as, or as the moment you find those early adopters, most probably the rest is kind of the same. And basically building great go-to-market muscles, the right positioning, the right pricing, and you build it from there. So I would say the starting point is a little bit different because the early adopters, it's easier to find in the US. So when we started InVitro Capital, I was quite shocked when the first product was AllRx, which is an online long-term care pharmacy. And I thought that we're going to find the first customer. Usually it took me around 60 days to 90 days to find the first customer in Vezeeta. In AllRx, our first company, we find the first customer after 3 days. And I was like, what? The second customer was in the 4th day. I was like, okay, that's pretty different landscape and mindset of adopting and trying out new technology. I think it's a great thing. And that's not in the Silicon Valley. That's actually in South California. So I'd assume even in the Valley it could be faster.
Interesting. So you're a fan of SoCal then? Because in the debate, you SoCal
I love
versus
SoCal. I love SoCal. I think I
get a lot
love
of hate.
SoCal because it's very close to your population that you're trying to serve, right?
Yeah.
It's South California. We're talking about around 20 million population. So you can test it, you can try everything, and you're very close to the different small businesses. You're going to find large enterprise. You're going to find a lot of the consumer base. So I find you're embedded very close to your customers. It's not everything happens on Zoom. I just get myself in a car. I drive to my customers. I test my product there, and I think that is honestly, I can find this as an unmatched competitive advantage for this region.
That's amazing. That's a story that you don't often hear, but I like to hear it because based in Glendale. So it's nice for me to hear that. It gives me comfort. Do you think, in the beginning of it all, like how much capital did you need personally, would you say, to properly kick off your entrepreneurial journey? Did you bootstrap in the early days? Did you take funding to begin things from day one?
So the whole InVitro Capital, we raised around $12 million to build InVitro Capital as a builder. And we have 4 portfolio companies under the InVitro Capital umbrella. Yeah. And I have anchored this investment. So I came in with around 25% of this investment. So I was so personally vested in this. And I would say zero capital is very difficult. But you also don't need the hundreds of millions. I would say that was yesterday's world. In today's world, the technology that we use to deploy 20 engineers over the course of 2 years to build, you can build it today over the course of 3 to 4 months with 2 engineers. So significantly less capital requirements to build and significantly faster time to build. So you need capital, but you don't need crazy amount of capital. And so that's one. And I would say today, from 0 to 1, from building from an idea to a company that is profitable, we kind of consume somewhere around $3 to $4 million, which is incredible. If somebody told me that this is doable 2 years ago, I would say it's impossible. Wow. But I think we're seeing this very, very possible now.
That's incredible. What a great story. So when you've gone out there and tried to get those first 3 customers, the 3 days to the first customer, what approaches have you taken to get the message out there in your various different companies? And what is your general strategy to bring something new into the world?
I always say this. In any new company that you're trying to build, in any new venture, in today's world, there are 2 jobs. There are sales and there are software developers. Anything else is a luxury.
Okay.
So if you're not a luxury, you should be actually very comfortable talking to your customers. And talking to your customers is about finding them, finding a way how to get them to meet you. And then when you go, you understand their pain and you can explain how your product going to solve their pain. That is the job of a sales. The job of a developer is to actually build this into a great product that when the customers use, they're not going to say, what is that? I'm going to churn. I'm not going to continue using that. And I think if you have these 2 elements in the organization, it could be 2 people, it could be 5 people, it could be 1 person. Rarely it's 1 person. But if you assemble this team, I would say between 2 to 5, more than enough to put it in the market and try it out quite effectively.
So what do you think about for all the people who are trying to build businesses and service providers out there, which is a large section of people, or people who are employees who are worried about either their industry or their job being replaced by AI? Do you think that these tools benefit certain types of people running certain types of companies more than the people who might be working in a company like that?
So if I hear the question correctly, let's face it, they should be worried. Job replacement in the AI era is real. We're seeing it left, right, and center. We're seeing it in engineering jobs. We're seeing it in customer care jobs. We're seeing it in marketing, in sales, in operations. We're seeing it everywhere. But what we are also seeing is, in a very simple format, there are three levels of jobs. There is the very structured job, think call center or customer care, and there is the mid-level kind of jobs, the hybrid between the structured and unstructured, and there's the unstructured job, the creative jobs, the jobs that will define something from nothing. I would say structured jobs going to be replaced, and that will push the entire humanity to upscale themselves and do more of the unstructured jobs, the more sophisticated jobs, which is good for everyone in the world, but it would require them to kind of upgrade their skills so that they can fill up the gap. The good news is that there is a gap. it's not easy to fill an unstructured job. There is a real gap. So when employees and talent kind of upgrade themselves, I think it's going to be easier for them to fill these gaps because employers are looking for them.
That makes sense. I mean, I've heard that argument before. I mean, not to derail the conversation. Some people believe that upskilling is not possible for certain people. You know, the people who gravitate towards structured jobs may not have the mind for doing these creative, unstructured jobs, and they might prefer a very structured job. Do you think that they'll be able to upskill? I mean, obviously, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but
I will tell you this. Let's use a couple of examples to explain how easy it is to upgrade your job. I would think of myself, I'm a very strong product guy, I'm a strong sales guy,
yeah.
But I'm not the best marketing person. So I would write some marketing slogans, and you would look at this and would say, okay, we don't want the customers to see that. But guess what? That's not the case today, because there are tools that I could use to produce significantly better quality of content and communication and slogans, if we're talking about slogans here.
Yeah.
So in reality, you don't need to teach yourself super new science so you can become relevant to the market. You need to deploy the mindset as I'm going to learn the tools. I'm going to learn how to use the different tools that's available in the market, and maybe learning a little bit of pieces here and there, and you're going to find yourself quite relevant. And again, think about AI workflows. Somebody just put some kind of a 10 hours effort in learning how to play with these workflows and do this kind of integration. It's going to be invaluable in today's workforce. And I would say for the coming year or two, that will be very significant skill set. It's not like we're asking people to go back and get a 4 years bachelor degree.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And for those who are listening, these tools might be something like Make.com, N8N. There's a lot of, or Zapier platforms that are allowing you to integrate and automate things. That rabbit hole goes really, really, really deep. And unfortunately, some of the stuff that they make easy is not so great. Like automated LinkedIn posting, which I see all over LinkedIn now, and I personally hate it. You see the same post 80,000 times. It's just a slight variation. And none
100%.
of these people are writing that. Not one person is writing that, but it's out there.
I agree 100%.
But yeah, in terms of getting ideas and marketing ideas. So as somebody who's in these, let's say, unsexy industries, you gravitate towards where the need is unmet, like healthcare, like construction, or things like that. Why do you think that most of the marketing, from a marketing guy, from somebody that's his greatest strength, why do you think that most of the marketing in these sectors sucks so bad?
I want to be sure that I heard this question. So are you asking about the marketing for why the marketing is not good for the unsexy industries?
Yes, like healthcare, there are companies who are doing billions of dollars in revenue and nothing looks particularly great. Do you think it's not important in these issues? Do you think it's a question of a lack of taste? Why is it that some industry, like take a car, very high level of marketing in general. If I want to create an electric vehicle, I know exactly what it needs to look like. If I create a competitor Rolex, it better be amazing. But then in healthcare, you have trillion-dollar companies, and it looks like something that they just threw together in Squarespace over a weekend. Why do you think that is?
I think I have a philosophy of how I look at this. Think about healthcare, right? In healthcare, do you want to see flashy brands, techie reception, or do you want to feel that it's very formal, disciplined, and less on the marketing side? What is the feel that you want to get when you get into Hoag Hospital? You want to feel that you trust them more than you want to feel that these guys are innovative, because most people don't want innovation on their bodies, right? So sometimes some industries are more about give us trust than give us flashiness and that give us innovation. And when this happens, you start hiring those people who come in suits, not those who are coming in the Silicon Valley mindset. And with time, these organizations becomes very I would say more towards the discipline, more towards building trust than trying to build innovation. Pharma industries are the same, construction companies are
Yeah.
the same, and so on and so forth. And by the way, I don't think disrupting these industries is by actually introducing flashy marketing. I actually think these things don't work.
Mm.
What actually works is doubling down on how technology can assure patients and consumers that you're going to provide better quality of care, less issues, more discipline, and so on and so forth.
I just think it's very funny now because Google has VO3. I don't know how up to date you are with that stuff. VO3 is producing 8-second video clips. Whole commercials are being made with this, and now some of those commercials are actually on TV. I've seen, which makes sense. And you think to the typical pharma industry commercial and how terribly unimaginative they've been for 20, 30, 40 years, like woman running through a field, dog being pet. It's the same. It could be stock footage. And you think, of course, VO3 is going to replace all of that stuff, obviously, because there was never anything that special there to begin with. But to me, it's just fascinating how you can have so much money and so much riding on the line. And you say, okay, guys, we've got our whole executive team. We need to make a commercial. We need to make people buy our new drug. What are we going to do? Dog in a field at sunset. It's always the same. It just seems like there's a complete absence of creative thought. Your points make sense.
No, I agree completely. I think the absence of creative thoughts, I think I agree completely. I think some industries are not designed and built around creativity. And also it becomes with time difficult to hire creative talents. Like, think about it. I'm going to get somebody from Apple or from Google or from a tech startup, a marketing creative person, and I'm asking them to come and work for the pharma industry. Most probably they wouldn't find this as exciting because also compliance is significantly higher, what to say, what not to say, the disclaimers that you need to put in the ads. It's not always to consumers. Sometimes you actually market to providers. So
right.
I get it.
May cause drowsiness, death, all of those things. Terrible. So at this stage, what do you feel? You're doing two things. You're straddled. Where do you feel happiest? Where do you feel most at home? Are you still a builder, or do you feel like you're content? You said you had a little bit of an exit yourself. Do you want to step back more and let other people run the show and do more of an advisory role? Or do you still very much feel like I want to be the sales guy? I want to be in the weeds. I want to build these things.
So I tried to be an investor and that's it. And I don't think that suits me or works with me. I'm definitely more of a builder than anything else. So there's an investor who invests the money and doesn't actually build with his own hand. There's the builder who builds things, and there's the operator who takes what is built and grow it.
Yeah.
I think I love to be the builder. I can do the investor. I think I love the builder. I'm not great operator. So I would say if I look at this, I would say I'm a builder, get the product market fit, scale it a bit, but then someone else should do it way better than me to take it to scalability. Investment only is pretty boring for me. So I would always think I'm happiest at home when I'm building.
Do you have a background in software or coding or any of those nitty-gritty things?
I actually started pharmacy, but I learned how to code independently when I built a tech company, and then I got into that space. And during my MBA in a very tech-driven school, I did an MIT, so that also got me a little bit more and more and more towards the data and the analytics and the software world.
Awesome. Well, you've been very generous with your time. Thank you. I was curious if you had to start all over from zero tomorrow, no money in the bank, nothing, but you did have the expertise and all of the knowledge that you have now, what would be the first thing that you would do to get back to where you are?
I would do it again and again. Exactly what I'm doing now is basically every single day, there are tons of things that you notice. I would choose one of those things that I would call it the nagging notice. You notice something, but it keeps nagging. Like, every single day I see it again, and it nags me. Yeah. I would pick one of those, think of how to solve this problem, find 5 people myself. I just go walk around with my car, move around, find 5 of those people who I believe they will have the same kind of problems, or look at my network. And then I would go to one or two of my friends, get from them maybe something like $50,000, convince one of the software engineers to jump in the ship with me, build, and that will be a company I will do. That's exactly what I will do.
Wow. That's really good. I hope people pay attention to that last part. We might clip that last part out. That's brilliant right there. And if you had to guess, would you, I mean, you already kind of alluded to this, but it would be in software. It would be something that you could solve with software. Is scalability something you'd be thinking about?
I don't care about scalability by any means. I think it's a mythical word that we use in the first year of a startup or a tech company. Scalability comes later. The most important thing is you solve the problem. When you solve the problem and when you have customers, now you are in business. Then you can start looking at, okay, how can I scale that?
Right.
I don't care if the processes that I deploy in the first year are scalable or not.
Right.
I care if they're going to be scalable later, and later is not today. Today,
Right.
I have a pain, I have a product, it solves the pain, I have some customers, great. Let's make this happen, grow it a bit, and then look at every single process that you think how to scale it, and then you can scale it. Tons of ideas of the best companies that we see today started by the most unscalable solutions in the world.
That's wise advice. Well, to wrap things up again, like super appreciative of you. I know you've been flying all around the world. You just came back from Dubai, back here in California. You've done so many things that a lot of people who are younger, even people like myself, we would look up to incredibly. I think it's very admirable what you've been able to build and continue to build. So what is the next dot on the horizon for you? What is the next step? What is the thing that you really want to do that maybe you haven't done yet?
I'm quite obsessed these days by how AI technology can actually do service in a quality that is better than the typical humans. I'm quite obsessed by that.
Same.
And I'm looking of, can we build these kind of products in the different industries that we could see this happen? And instead of having people doing very repetitive, monotonous tasks, can we make them manage multiple AI agents that could actually do these kind of jobs? And I'm not thinking about doing 20% of the job, but I'm hoping that they can do 120% of the job. So they do the exact job that we do as humans today, but significantly better.
Yeah.
And we deploy these agents in the hands of other people who can manage them. I'm quite obsessed of seeing this. And I would love to see this happening in the real world. So
completely agree. I have a friend of mine who created an article, an infographic for the Harvard Business Review. And you probably saw this. It made the rounds on LinkedIn. But the number one thing people are using ChatGPT for right now is basically therapy. Because it's a therapist who will always talk to you 24/7, who's always going to cheer for you, who never takes a break. And no matter what you throw at it, I don't know if you've tried this, it'll always give you a positive response. It'll say, that's a great idea, Amir. You could do that. Great. That plays into your strengths is this, and this. And so a lot of people are saying, why will I spend $200 per hour on a therapist? And, my wife is going to kill me because she's a psychologist. But a lot of people are finding more value because it's always on and it's personalized and all of that. So I completely agree. It's what's happening, whether we like it or not.
I honestly love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
love it. I love it because it's the real things, right? Again, you may need to kind of create some feel that this is real and he's not always cheering you.
Right.
So kind
You
of
can do
creating
anything.
a realistic element.
Right. I do think there is a
It's
little
like,
bit of that.
Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ross, I like idea 2, but I don't like idea 1. So like it gives you the feel that it's
That's true.
It's really evaluating the situation. We're gonna see more and more of these kind of products and services in the market. And again, the more personalized, the more real they are, the more impactful it is.
That's right. No, I completely agree. And we're going to see more and more of that. At the end of the day, it is a tech product. And just like we've learned from social media networks, that dopamine hit is what keeps you coming back. So there's definitely a little bit of an element if you say, hey, I think I'm going to go jump off of a bridge without a parachute. It's going to say, I love that for you. You're a 6-foot tall man. You could jump. You'll probably find some water to land in. Go for it. And you're like, oh, okay. All right. GPT. Tell me why I shouldn't do this. And then it'll say, actually, now that you mention it, it's probably a pretty bad idea.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that. Just a little bit of it. But we'll see how that plays out in the next 10 years.
And you could know a little bit about me. You could know a little bit about what I do in life, my work, blah, blah, blah. And you could tell me things around. You are on the top 30%. Why you are so depressed. You're doing amazing here and there. So really kind of personalize this. So it becomes real. It becomes something that you would hear from your therapist. And I'm not trying to exacerbate the issue with your wife, because I know she works in the space. So I'm just explaining the idea.
Okay.
So.
We talk
but
about
it's your
this all
idea,
the time.
Ross, not mine.
I know. You're fine. You're off the hook. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. It's been really awesome chatting with you. I'm going to let you have the last word here. So if there's any parting wisdom or any last piece of advice or something that you want to promote or let the listeners come find you, the last word is yours.
Thanks, Ross. Thank you very much for the invite. Really enjoyable talk here. And I think they can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on my email, Amir Barsoum at InVitro Capital. And last words is we are in a fascinating time that I would say in every 3 or 4 generations, there's this level of invention. And I think we could look at it from a scary, pessimistic lens, or we can jump onto it and ride the fascinating wave ahead of us. And I would choose the latter. And let's build together a different future to us and to our kids.
That's a great way to wrap it up. Thank you again for your time. I love the conversation very much. You're very awesome. Get some rest. You deserve it. I know you won't, but you probably should. And with that, the official podcast is over.